No. Hi everyone, Sinjin Hawke here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Sinjin Hawke album, First Opus. Sinjin Hawke is a young electronic music producer that I thought was entirely new to me when I was catching suggestions to review his debut album over here, only to learn that I've actually heard his production before because he's worked with artists like Kanye West and Just Blaze and Gangsta Boo. Ultimately though, it doesn't really matter to me all that much whose music he's worked on in the past. It's really actually the individual merits of this album being so incredibly entertaining, in my opinion, that has me talking about it here in this video. What Hawke has pulled together on this 43-minute album is a pretty tight set of tracks that are part dreamy, part groovy, and present this very melodic, smooth, and hyper-futuristic take on the sounds of wonky and UK bass, with some very creative sampling here and there on the album too, of what sounds like some horn breaks, a lot of vocal samples on this thing, which are executed very tastefully throughout the album. I would actually call them refined, especially on the intro of the track Dawn of Infinity. Obviously this is an electronic music album, it's a dance music album, but it truly lives up to the name First Opus in its grandeur. There's something really opulent about some of these tracks, even though a lot of the production on this thing takes a very skeletal, kind of spacey approach. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Kind of the definition of power in simplicity, as Hawke guides listeners through one very round, bouncy, impeccably composed banger after another. There are a ton of highlights across the track listing on this thing, in my opinion. The invigorating horn breaks on the track Dawn of Infinity. The rough and heavy sub-bass kicks on the track Don't Lose Yourself to This are driving, they're pushing, they're propulsive, they're visceral. In a way, kind of reminds me of Tonight, you know, that one great EP that they put out. I mean, maybe not as colorful and bombastic and over the top, but certainly, you know, I think there are some sonic similarities there. Also, on the track They Can't Love You, the song features all these really pretty, plucky, sparkling melodies in every direction, really nice, beautiful arpeggios that kind of remind me of like There Is Lovin' You era quartet, but of course like this UK bass groove comes in later in the track that brings an entirely different vibe and dynamic. And I think fans who like the very bright and glossy synth work on Rusty's Glass Swords will get into a lot of what this album has to offer too. The semi-ambient and sparkling Shimmer is easily one of the most gorgeous moments on the LP. And the track Nailgun, which comes out of nowhere, sticks out like a sore thumb, but in a very good way, in that it's one of the most unique tracks in the entire track listing here. Feels like this weird, off-the-wall, deconstructed piece of techno or footwork. There's so much to it. From the weird mechanical drum break on this thing to kind of the sputtering, warped sub-bass kicks and all the demonic vocal samples, it's one of the oddest hybrids of multiple sounds and inspirations on the entire album, but yet it's so hard-hitting, it's so gritty, it's so fun. Meanwhile, the song By Any Means kind of sounds like a Speedy and Chipmunk take on what could have been an instrumental intro on like Kanye's Late Registration or something, with these grand vocal harmonies and driving sub-bass hits and these really hype woos worked into the instrumental. Hawke consistently comes through with great ideas on every single track here, but if there is kind of a shortcoming or an Achilles heel that occasionally pops up, some of the tracks run shorter than others, and as a result, I don't feel like he abruptly ends any of the tracks like some producers and artists do who do come through the really short track, like it just kind of feels unfinished. Rather, instead, Hawke has at least a handful of songs on here that feel almost like he jam-packs them with so many ideas, which I think he could have extended out a little bit. It's almost as if he's in a rush to finish or end some of these songs when he has more than enough progression and detail there to just kind of like let it glide, let it ride out a little bit longer, and just kind of develop in a more natural and organic and I guess cohesive way. And this is by no means a huge prevalent problem on the album. Most of the tracks actually do this. It's only just a couple, it's only several tracks where it actually feels like, you know, this really could have ended in a bit smoother of a fashion. There are a couple rare moments like Dawn of Infinity where I think maybe he could have added a bit more detail to some of the progressions there, because there are so many moments where I feel like I've heard that that same horn hit so many times, like with the drum build up, that it's like, you know, this could use a bit more variation. But outside of that, I'm just very generally impressed with the writing, with the production, with the soundcraft on this album, especially on tracks like Onset, which are easily one of the most grand and hard-hitting moments on the entire record. So much so that I feel like the couple of tracks that come after this are almost like, wow, this is like a little less exciting here. I feel almost as if the album could have ended or just gotten very close to the ending at this point. And that's kind of another thing. The flow of the album is just okay. I wouldn't say it sounds purely like a random collection of tracks, you know, but I think there could have been more attention paid to how many songs actually feel like a little redundant or maybe could have been cut from the track listing just to make the overall experience of the record a little bit tighter. Though I will say the closing track on here is easily one of the most grand, beautiful, and melodic on the entire album. I cannot say that the album doesn't end strong. It does. Yeah, I mean, overall, just really impressed with this record, really loving what Hawke is bringing to the table. First opus, looking forward to hearing the second one too, because this was actually really entertaining. Easily going to be one of my favorite electronic records of the year. Awesome to hear some bangers with a lot of detail, a lot of color, a lot of nuance, and I'm feeling a light to decent 8 on this album. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe, and please don't cry. Just leave an angry comment in the comments if you're angry. Sinjin Hawke, first opus. Videos next to my head that you should check out. Link to subscribe to the channel, official website too. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Forever.